Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the 40th episode of the Getting Over podcast and the 4-year anniversary. Can you believe it? We're talking the Royal Rumble, one of the biggest WWE pay-per-views, and you're not allowed to say that anymore, so that's very confusing. Find out more about that in this podcast. But while I've got your attention, please do consider subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. It's an awesome thing to do, and it means a lot to us. Right, here we go. This is CookieCast Getting Over.
Recording in progress.
I'll take from the lady and hand over to Stu to do an amazing introduction to this here podcast.
Thank you very much. So, hello everyone. Welcome along, whether it is your first time or indeed your now 40th. We appreciate you joining us on Getting Over on the CookieCast Network. With this episode as well, we now enter our 4th year of Getting Over. And as ever, we appreciate all the people who've contributed to all the episodes gone, everybody that listens, and of course the subscribers along the way. So if you haven't already, now would be an awesome time to go and subscribe, especially for the birthday of Getting Over, but also because it will cost you absolutely nothing. So get yourselves over. Thank you very much. For the YouTube viewers, you will see that, as ever, I am not alone. We are joined by the Triple H of this particular D-Generation X, the leader of CookieCast himself, Mr. Andrew Cook.
Thank you.
And next up, the man furthest away geographically, the road dog, if you will, Mr. Matthew Moore.
Hello. I was worried where I was going there.
And last, but no means least, I could give him a dig like I usually do in the intro, but I've been told to stop being such an ass, man. So, Mr. Paul Williams, welcome along.
Hello. I was convinced I was going to end up being called an ass of some kind, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah.
In his ass ranch.
You've done it yourself now, so, you know.
I'm clearly just one of the ass boys, so, you know.
What a way to start a podcast with that full-on admission. Anyway, everybody all right? Ready to rumble, fellas? Yeah? So, as ever then, we will get stuck straight in with the predictions title to kick things off. Last time, we were here picking the winners from WWE Day 1. Or were we? I mean, the card got pretty much annihilated from what we'd picked within a matter of days after Mr. Roman Reigns contracted COVID. In the days before the event, he tested positive and he was unable to defend the Universal title. So, you know, Brock Lesnar just set about doing Brock Lesnar things by getting himself inserted in the WWE title match instead. That meant, of the 6 points we could have had from predictions, it boiled down to just 4 potential points. It avoided 2 matches. So, I mean, we always say card subject to change, and that's kind of exactly why, I guess. But yeah, we have managed to pull out scoring of 1, 2, 3, 4, as seems to be the way across multiple podcasts now. Sometimes that happens. And this was the order. So, with 1 point, Mr. Matthew Moore. 2 points, Paul. So that leaves defending champion and myself in the running. So 3 points goes to Mr. Andy Cook. So that means with 4 out of the 4 that were remaining, I guess it's not technically quite a clean sweep, but you know, I'll take it if you want to give it. But yeah, I actually won the predictions for a change, which makes the fight very strange. Kind of, yeah, that doesn't happen very often. So yeah, I'm quite pleased about that.
Congrats, Stu. You fought well. You fought well, and you won. Obviously, you will not hold on to the title for long. It'll be coming home. Goldie will return.
I'm not saying it was obviously arranged for the fact that it's like the anniversary podcast or anything like that, but it does feel nice to actually to get a win. So we have got, with it being the Rumble, we have got quite a lot to get through. So we'll dive straight into the news, and there's been little bits here and there, mainly all around words this month, seemingly, and the latest banned word by Vince McMahon begins our news with the fact that the pay-per-view is no more. Day one marked the first premium live event produced by WWE. You can understand the name change, I guess, with less people viewing the product in the traditional pay-per-view model and more people streaming using like the network and Peacock in the US. I mean, oat milk is still called milk, is all I'll say. It's still a pay-per-view. Let's just go for it. Like, what is your problem? I don't understand. It does also throw up the question of, now does the pay-per-view predictions title need rebranding? Which, the pounds that were spent on producing that piece of hardware for the podcast as well. It's just, I'm not quite sure.
The premium live event title just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
It's when they've now started advertising for the Royal Rumble. Previously, whatever the event was, they didn't feel the need to put pay-per-view on everything. They did sometimes, not all the time. Whereas now, it's like Royal Rumble, massive writing, in nearly quite as big writing, premium live event. It's like, we get the point. You can stop this now. Nobody's going to call it the Royal Rumble premium live event. They're just going to call it the Royal Rumble, as we already have multiple times. So yeah, bit of an odd one.
You might as well rename everything, sell it to Sky Sports, and then pretend that the previous however many years of history never happened.
Well, speaking of renaming, we have also had, in my opinion, WWE dropping the ball yet again on the name change front. After years of Walter adamantly claiming that the US wasn't appealing, he's now finally made the move to the NXT roster, leaving NXT UK behind for good. He's seemingly trimmed down, he looks in the best shape of his career, and he towers above most of the current NXT roster. What could go wrong? I mean, Vince wanting to change his name to Gunther isn't a great start. And it's rumoured that the name was set to be Gunther Stark. Quickly drew the ire of anyone in earshot and arm's reach of Google, as this was actually the name of a Nazi U-boat commander responsible for the death of many innocent people during World War II. Well done, Vince. Well played.
It's just like, I mean, do we say this is a grumble, or do we just go for it? Just like, your weekend warrior wrestler who's on the indie scene would know better than to not name their team, or think, I've got a really good name, I'll go with this. I'll just Google it just to make sure it's not horrifically offensive to a massive amount of people. All right, good, yeah, I've just checked that. You're a multi-billion-dollar company, and why on earth you had to rename him anyway? Let's start with that. And then, because it's not like he's new to the company. He's not like he's been on the indies, but he's been in the WWE for 2, 3, 4 years now. But we've got to rename him anyway because copyright. And then, and then you do this. I mean, it's just so stupid. The bit that, and I agree with what Matt said, the bit that gets me is, like, if it was a brand new guy coming in, or brand new to WWE, but he was known on the indies, you can understand there's that, like, intellectual property thing that is always talked about, and you can understand that they want to kind of make money off the guy coming in, but not, take for, not have to then pay out basically after he then inevitably gets released from his contract in 3 months. But this guy, you can still go on the Euroshop website
and buy a Walter t-shirt, you can still buy the side plates for the title belts because, he's been marketed as Walter. So, I mean, it's just a little bit sort of closing the door after the horse has bolted kind of thing for me, this, really.
Well, he's literally, within the last 2 to 3 years, been on a pay-per-view, premium live event as Walter. People in the States have seen him as Walter.
Yep.
He's appeared regularly on NXT as Walter, as part of Imperium, who I presume he's still part of that group on NXT 2.0.
Yep.
Baffling, absolutely baffling. But
so just to throw a little bit more petrol onto the fire of the name change. This one's a little bit on the lowdown, and they've kind of snuck it in. But Seth Rollins is no longer Seth Rollins, seemingly picking up freaking as an official middle name. Ridiculous. That for me is almost the worst of all of them. Like, yes, the Walter thing, he's been there 4 years, whatever. Seth Rollins has been there probably longer than some young fans have been watching it now, for sure. And yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird. There's a lot of strange things happening. I guess none more strange than WWE finally jumping on board with the whole opening of the forbidden door, potentially. Obviously, we will talk a little bit more about this with the Rumble stuff. But it is interesting to me that WWE have never really been massively or publicly open to it before. I know, obviously, historically, there's been stuff where they've worked with ECW a little bit. And there has been like bits and bobs here and there, but never anything in the public domain really at the time. But this time around for the Rumble, they've openly approached people that work for other companies that were recently employed by WWE that now work for other companies. And yeah, is it desperation? Or is it the fact that they're actually moving with the times a little more and can see that things maybe ain't going entirely their own way like they used to so often?
I think if the main person that, I'm assuming people who listen to this are wrestling fans and they know who we're talking about, is it an apology tour to that person who got absolute, they got released, and then they did a whole series of other shitty things to that person. So is it like one last, you can come and say goodbye properly? And
well, we talked about Trash Bag Gate, didn't we? So we are referring to Mickie James in this respect in the Women's Rumble. It could well be that. I mean, somebody that's not in WWE is absolutely not winning. There is no chance of that. But yeah, it's the other one for me was a bit of even. Why would you even ask them? Apparently, the artists formerly known as the Iconics were asked, to which a very swift and possibly not very polite "fuck you" was issued back. Why would you? Like, I really don't understand that. To me, they were two shocks at the time. Anyway, they were doing good stuff on their own.
The risk that when they did that, it sounds kind of deep. When they did that to those two, the risk that they put to their lives, full stop. At a time where they work, because obviously they're not American, so they have to work. So what they did to them was effectively be like, because what's his name, Damo, Killian
Dane.
He had to leave the country, leave his wife behind, who's still employed by the WWE, but he had to leave the country because his visa ran out at the end of the 90 days because you can't work. And they did the same to the Iconics, and there was a real threat of either, and I think like Chelsea Green as well, there was the real threat of them being kicked out, not so much, what's her face?
Cassie Lee.
Yeah.
Well, no, because but Sean Spears is Canadian.
Yeah.
So she would still be unless he's got dual nationality or something like that. But yeah, she wouldn't fall under that criteria.
So yeah, there's a bit of a strange one to even ask them, but there's, as we'll get to, not all of the spots in the Rumble have been announced. There's rumours that there could even potentially be AEW people, which I think personally for me is just rumours. Some of the AEW wrestlers have had quite a lot of fun online with that over the past week, Hangman Page specifically. But I guess, yeah, we'll see who actually turns up, and if that's given any of you gents an idea for who you might want as your surprise Rumble entrant later on, then just keep that in the bag for now. Since the last podcast, there haven't been any real official releases, although people have asked. Now, Mustafa Ali, or Ali, has asked for his release, wasn't granted. The fans took to Twitter, and as they tend to do these days, posted on anything that WWE or WWE on Fox put out with the hashtag #FreeAli, to which one of the fans was then blocked by the Fox Instagram account, I believe it was, and now Ali himself has now blocked that account. So he was working for the company, has now blocked an official account. So he's sticking by his guns. That guy, he's not going to lie down. Seemingly, so I can't see that we'll probably see him on TV again. I'm assuming he'll just be left to sit out his contract until the last sort of month of it, I guess, as a few of them have. But it's also come to light that Brian Kendrick has also asked for his release, possibly around 6 weeks ago, and not even had a response. So, I mean, I feel like it's all bad news this time around that's happened in the last few weeks.
I'll say in between day one though and now, I didn't Tony Storm as well just upped and left.
Yeah, that is true. I don't think she was released though, really, in the respect of they wanted to let her go, because she was in the middle of a SmackDown Women's title feud. And,
there was loads of rumours doing the round that apparently she didn't ask for a release. She didn't just sort of do anything like that. Apparently, the rumour is that she just basically went to wherever she was, like she must have done a live event or something, packed her bags and then literally just paid for a flight home. And she even just said, I just can't be asked anymore, and she just basically paid to fly herself home. So yeah, it's a strange place at the minute, I think, is the long and short of it, really.
I'm starting to feel an awful lot like they're in full on, I mean, and they have been for a while, like full-on scramble mode. Like, they can say all this
stuff. Like Adamley style. Championship scramble mode.
They can say all the stuff about...
Is there any more about the possibility of them selling the company? Because there was this whole thing about them basically clearing the roster down to the bare bones, so that when they went for the sale of the company, whoever was looking at buying it wasn't having to buy this massive roster of people and take on a shed load of wages. They can just buy the bare bones of the company and then build it back up from there. You know, so Vince can focus on his other company.
Well, when Andy picks Tony Khan as his surprise entrant later on, we all know what's afoot. I haven't seen anything more about it being sold. I mean, that would make sense. It
weirdly makes the most sense at this point in time, because they're literally just like, you can go and you've already gone. Oh, thanks for letting us know, sort of. It's like it's starting to feel a little bit like rats deserting a sinking ship, with things like people just being like, oh, you know, my lifelong dream has been to be a wrestler, and you know, you always want to be on the biggest company, the biggest roster, and then it's like, I'm just gonna grab my coat, yeah. None of it seems to make sense.
The Dwayne's best bud has said that it's definitely not for sale, but I mean, he's about as trustworthy as you could throw the Dwayne. So
the Dwayne's probably the buyer.
Would not surprise me, considering he's bought XFL.
And he definitely hasn't also splashed £3.5 million on $3.5 million on a T-Rex skull. I saw that in the week as well. So you know that you've got too much money when you publicly have to deny buying a fossil. Random.
A very rare and valuable fossil that should be out somewhere for people to see. If we just in your personal collection.
That is currently missing.
Yeah, that is correct. But one was seen on his camera. But I do have to say, for legal reasons, he has said that it is just a replica, and he showed a picture of the people who made the cast of the original skull. So it's definitely a replica, and there was no mention of where the skull might have gone after the cast was made. However, so just
For other unbiased opinions, you can listen to other people's opinions, of course, we must say at this point, but
Well, I mean, odds on the T-Rex turning up in the... No, I think we're going too far there. So, we'll move away from that stuff now. The last little bit that is a little happier for some is that Progress has finally returned to live events in the UK after the pandemic, but also after scandals here, there, and everywhere, it seems. They did make some waves last weekend by having a surprise appearance from former Olympian and currently contracted AEW wrestler Anthony Ogogo. So that was again all the Forbidden Door stuff. Myself and Matt were part of Club Progress before everything went to absolute shit, and it was a bit like a membership thing where you got first dibs on tickets and what have you. And the guys that have bought the company took that customer database and basically started calling people a couple of weeks ago, just at random. I know Matt had a call. I had a call shortly after, and one of the questions that I asked the guy was about Super Strong Style, big event that they used to do every year, and like kind of if they plan to do it, would they still be looking at imports? Would it be British people particularly? And he said, well, and the quote from the call was, "Our hands are tied with the WWE contract. First event, AEW wrestler." Andy, you're starting to convince me more and more every time we come on here, but I think you called this a very long time ago.
I'm beyond convinced at this point. I imagine that there's going to be situations where somebody's going to come out a little too quick and the curtain's going to ruffle a bit too much, and Vince will just be there on the phone as oh wait, this is a AEW event. Vince is there wheeling and dealing in the background.
Obviously we're going to kind of talk about the Forbidden Door and stuff like that. I think the thing always was with Progress was that the WWE didn't want any of the WWE guys losing to Ring of Honor guys or AEW guys or New Japan guys. And New Japan guys and Ring of Honor and AEW didn't want their guys losing to WWE guys. And I think that's where the biggest issue came with that. God knows. Because obviously, Anthony Ogogo at the new one is the Isaiah Swerve Scott or whatever he's going as is at the next.
Yep.
Is it the next one?
The one that's going to be Manchester, isn't it? I think he's changed his name twice since he left, because I think he went back to Shane Strickland to begin with, and now he's gone back to some sort of hybrid of Swerve Strickland or something like that.
I saw it the other day. And I was like, hang on a minute, yeah. But so it'd be interesting to see. I got when you kind of, because after the phone call from the new owner, mid-bath, kind of mid-bath the Seb kind of thing, I was like, yeah, mate, you're just gonna have to go now because I just don't want to talk to you anymore. And then I got a random phone call on Sunday evening from a mobile number. I didn't answer it because I was like, he was ringing me at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, and I was like, then you kind of think, oh man, maybe that was someone from Progress ringing me then as well, kind of thing. But it'd be interesting to see how that goes.
They promised right from the off that they were going to make things better and sort of bigger. And I know that they've been stuck in, having to do the stuff behind closed doors and all the rest of it because they've had the network specials to put out. But it kind of feels like a decent start so far. for Progress. I'll be interested to see what happens. We did discuss on the phone call about other cities being hosting events, and they were quite keen to be outside of London and Manchester as well. So who knows? Watch this space. We might even get to a Progress event again yet. So that was pretty much about all of the different neat bits and bobs of news I had, and I think it's probably time to get stuck into the Rumble predictions. This weekend, it does come to us live on Saturday, not Sunday, although technically Sunday in the UK, from the Dome at America Center in St. Louis, Missouri. As always, the match information is taken from WWE.com and is correct at the time we are recording, but as last time, it may well change yet. 6 matches have been scheduled, including the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches. So the list of matches I have in front of me will probably be best to go through them one by one. We shall start, gentlemen, with the Raw Women's title match, which is Becky Lynch going in as champion, defending against Doudrop. So Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan and Doudrop have been on full championship chase mode since the turn of the year, with the latter picking up a win in a triple threat match to earn the title match of the Rumble. A win, however, that was aided by the champion herself when Lynch interfered in the match. Doudrop has been painted as probably the easy option for Becky Lynch, but since the win in the triple threat, that hasn't really transpired, with Doudrop getting the best of her a couple of weeks running. This, for me, is probably the most predictable of all of the matches, I would suggest, in this particular premium live event. But is anybody going to take Doudrop to actually win? Or shall I just put Becky Lynch down for all of us now? Yeah, thought as much. So I will put that in the book. I did put that for
the audio.
You what, sorry, Matt?
For the audio listeners, we all nodded for the Becky. It was aggressive nodding. You could have heard our necks cracking. For the
I was going to say, I got whiplash nodding for that one.
Right, okay, so I knew that one would be a fairly quick one, so we shall move on. So, mixed tag team match, Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maurice, and in a match that has been billed as the It Couple versus the Grit Couple. Maurice interfered in The Miz's match with Edge at day 1, which brought out Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix, and obviously real-life partner as well, wife. To even the odds, it did, at the time, allow Edge to hit the spear for the win, getting me a point in the predictions, but we're not talking about that now. Miz then challenged Edge and Beth to the tag match, despite Maurice clearly not wanting any part of it, and hostilities have continued since, including, considering she didn't really want any part in it to begin with, the Maurice hitting Beth Phoenix with a purse, which then was later revealed to have a brick inside of it. So that was, good old dirty heel tactics. But this is the first time that Edge and Beth have ever worked together in a sort of live TV capacity. So it must be quite fun for them to do as well. But basically, which couple wins? Andy, do you want to go first?
Edge, and obviously his good lady.
Edge and Maurice. Hang on a minute. Okay, you are in the book, sir.
Purely so that they can get the old first time ever.
I mean, could you imagine it if it's the first ever car keys match?
Car keys on a pole match.
Yeah, you got to get your car keys out, and then whichever car key that's your partner for the match.
That's take a Polar back so much it's knocked his glasses clean off. Is the?
I mean, it's gold. It's golden. I mean, you might be explaining that to the kids. Right, everyone who's a couple. Right, here we go. Let's say it's all inappropriate to have a car keys match. Right, okay then. All the keys involved. Oh, where's Vince got this idea from?
Oh, man.
So yeah, do you want to take the next one then, Matt, whilst Paul's recovering?
I'm going to go with Edge Phoenix and Beth Phoenix.
Mr. and Mrs. Phoenix. Okay, you are in the book. Paul?
I would like to go for the Miz and Maurice, please.
Ooh, why for?
Point.
Well, they had the ding dong at day one. They're going to have this ding dong at Royal Rumble. What better place to have your, for want of a better phrase, rubber match?
Did they get that from the same place they got the keys from?
Yeah. Might have been. But yeah, so I think it's the sort of it's to keep the storyline going and get them to WrestleMania.
Okay. One thing that actually we should have mentioned in the news that we didn't was that the Elimination Chamber is next up, and it's not too far in the future. However, it's been moved to Saudi Arabia, so I mean it could be called the WrestleMania Chamber by the time we get there.
I think it almost definitely will be.
But yeah, so there will be that pay-per-view. Premium live event in between.
Damn it, Stuart!
I can't help it. It's like 30 years of it being engraved. So yeah, there may well be a match there as well, rather than WrestleMania. So there is that potential. That leaves me to leave Paul sat out in the cold on Miz and Maurice. I am also taking Edge and Beth. So
Points.
could well be. Right then. So next on the card we have the WWE title match, which is Brock Lesnar going in defending the newly won championship versus Bobby Lashley. So this to me has been the marquee match in the build-up for anything to do with Royal Rumble, aside from the Rumble matches themselves. But it's been billed as 20 years in the making, and we now finally get to see these two absolute units go head-to-head in a singles match. Every week in the build-up so far, we've seen a different version of Brock Lesnar. Whether that has been the Beast, whether it's been comedian Brock, or like this week, it's just full-on cowboy Brock, coming out in the flannel and the cowboy hat, just even giving a tip of the hat to the crowd as he walked down the aisle. But Lashley, on the other hand, remains very focused and full-on straight-up business mode. It should be an interesting match. Two guys from a very similar background. The careers have almost paralleled in some ways, but with Lesnar always seemingly managed to just eclipse Lashley that little bit further. Like the MMA stuff, obviously Lashley did the Bellator stuff, did pretty well at that. But then not everybody really has heard of Bellator, but most people have heard of UFC. So Brock had done it a little bit earlier and a little bit bigger as well, I guess some would argue. Brock most definitely will still have Roman Reigns somewhere down the line, and MVP and Paul Heyman will be ringside too. So in what could well be an awesome match, it'll probably be very hectic as well, I should imagine, in terms of there could be all kinds of finishes going on here. Could be interruptions from the Reigns camp. It could just be a straight up MVP or Heyman interruption. It could actually just be a good match and a clean finish, and that would probably be the most shocking part. But the bottom line is, where is the WWE title going once this match finishes? Paul, do you want to go first this time?
This is one of the ones that I had the hardest sort of time coming to a decision on, really, because there's all sorts of rumours doing the rounds that obviously when Lesnar won the title and then had the sort of face off with Reigns, he threw out a sort of not a challenge as such, but a sort of a musing of title versus title, sort of a let's see who the real man is and stuff like that. And then it's almost sort of taken that to the next level of, well, if they both win the matches at the Royal Rumble, what does that do for the person who wins the Rumble going to WrestleMania? So I don't know if over the course of the two matches, one of them might lose, and then, spoiler alert for later on, turns up in the Rumble and wins it, to then sort of bring it back to.
So everything I've seen over the last week alludes to that one of them is going to lose their title and go straight into the Rumble.
So I think if that is going to be the case, as strange as it is to say it, I think the one who's more likely to lose is probably Reigns. So but on this one, I like this as the sort of the weird, wacky finish one. So I'll go for this one to be a no contest.
Okay. I have gone straight up with a Brock Lesnar win on this one. I agree that there will be the title will be dropped, certainly between now and WrestleMania. I still think it's going to be Brock, but I think now because of the Saudi Arabia deal, they'll probably do that next month because it's a bigger deal for them, and they'll probably get more money for doing it, all that kind of business. So I've got Brock down to retain. Matt?
I've gone for Broccoli Rob as well.
Okay. Similar theory, or you've got some different thoughts?
I don't know. I just think he's come back, and obviously the character's quite interesting. Bobby Lashley just seems, I don't know, they seem to have lost that kind of rub with him, and I just think in the state that they're in at the moment, I just think they're going to keep it on the famous guy.
Yeah, fair enough. And Andy, much like it feels like a home game this for you, which is why I've left the Brock prediction till last. So have at it, my friend.
I mean, I say it every time, Stu, but I'm almost offended that you've even come to me. The fact that you've not got Brock Lesnar already written in the book is, I mean, it's an insult. And one of these days. Yeah,
okay.
As I was saying when Paul was going through that stuff, everything I've read over the course of the week suggests that this is a situation where one or both of the men's title holders could drop the title and go straight into the Rumble. Spoilers for later, but I'm not sure whether I agree with that as such, and definitely not for this match. So yeah, Brock.
Okay, cool. So, before we move on then to the final three matches on the card, we will just take a very, very small break, and we will be right back to you with the rest of the predictions.
Recording in progress.
There you go, Stu, back to you.
Just like that, quicker than a Santino Marella Royal Rumble appearance, we are back. So, the next match to discuss on the card is the Universal title match, which is Roman Reigns defending as champion versus the aforementioned Seth freaking Rollins. So, after absolutely swerving Brock by contracting COVID for day one, he then proclaimed that there was nobody left for him to face on the SmackDown roster. So Adam Pearce brings over Seth freaking Rollins from Raw to face Roman Reigns. Instant big match feel, really, with a history between the two, but it does feel very much like a break glass in case of emergency kind of booking. Rollins hasn't been shy in the build-up, as you wouldn't, you'd expect him not to be, and letting everybody know that he holds a 100% record over Roman Reigns in title matches between the pair. Will that trend continue, or does Roman continue his dominance? We should note as well, however, that this month Roman became the longest reigning Universal Champion in a single run of all time, surpassing Brock of all people as well, with a current reign sitting at around, well, it's over 510 days, depending when you listen to the podcast. At time of recording, it's 514. So is it going to be Reigns? Is it going to be Rollins? I haven't gone first yet, so I'm going to dive straight in myself, and I'm going to say Roman Reigns because still haven't definitely said that it's not going to be The Rock at WrestleMania. So I'm still flogging that horse. So I'm going with Roman Reigns to keep hold of it. You're welcome.
Just to jump in there. I've gone Roman Reigns as well.
Okay. Same reason, or?
I don't know. I just can't see them putting the belt title strap, whatever they want to call it. That's the original OG kind of changing the name for no reason in particular. Now you can't say it anymore. I can't see him putting on Rollins kind of thing because they bought him over from another kind of brand. So yeah, I just think they'll stick with old Roman.
Part of it as well for me is that like one thing that I've learned from now being on here with you guys is that we talk all the time about it'd be good if this happened, or it'd be good if that happened. So like Andy's already mentioned, oh man, one of them could lose the belt and go straight in the Rumble. Seems like a great idea for someone to keep it all fresh. So they're absolutely not going to do that, are they? So that's why I've just got both champions to retain on them prediction. Okay, on that note, I did see Andy nodding his head. So where are you going with this one?
Basically, both of what you've both just said, just sort of slot those two together. Everything like for your whole thing about The Rock at WrestleMania, I'm all about that. And what Matt said, they're not going to put the belt on somebody from a different brand. It's crazy bonkers. So yeah, the Roman.
Unless Broccoli Rob's strolling back over with the WWE title, possibly. I don't know.
Okay, so you're going for Reigns just to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that does give it has just nudged the door open slightly for Mr. Williams there. Is he going to potentially play for points, or is he going to be quite happy scoring nothing again?
Hey.
Well, I did say earlier that obviously the big rumours doing the rounds is that they're trying to get them back together by having one of them lose the titles. The comment there was, oh yeah, but he's come over from a different brand. Oh, they wouldn't have him, win from a different brand, so they'd end up with two belts on the same brand. They've done it before. Regardless of all that, no, he ain't losing it, is he? Let's be honest. He's their golden boy, the one person he's never beaten. They've managed to get back in the match with him, so let's have him beat him now, shall we? So yeah, Reigns to retain for me.
Mm-hmm. It must have been like a wet dream for the writers when this came up, because like it's that same old thing that they like to do. It's coincided at the time where they can roll out, but he's never beaten him in a title match. Oh, but he's been champion for hundreds of days, and like normally, like those are the two kind of like trigger points for like change it.
Also, can we just have a little moment of silence for the incredibly sort of narrow-minded booking of, so Reigns is on SmackDown, yeah? Who can he face at the Rumble? Is there literally no one else on SmackDown? No, there's no one else on SmackDown. We're gonna have to drag a Raw guy in. Really? So we're just doing that now, are we? We're not having the brand split then, basically. Yeah, fuck it, why not?
That's what happens when you get rid of the majority of your roster. You've got no one to pick from.
True. It's very true.
Brand split means nothing.
With the whole point of, I mean, when they've got rid of all them people, it's not like they've got two matches that we're about to discuss where they've got 60 slots to fill either, is it?
Yeah, you say that, but there'll still be someone in the roster who we haven't seen for ages who will miss out.
Oh, you mean like what's the guy? The guy who gone to Raw who's been promised the guy who was one of Mahal's cronies. It was Veer, wasn't it?
This is the guy that allows Lance Storm to win at Twitter on a weekly basis. Because basically he's just taken to, as soon as he sees that sort of advert come up, Via is coming. He's just like, is he walking there from India? Like, or what he said. Then he said was, right, I'm gonna give WWE a golden storyline and they can follow it. And it's basically a case of like what he said was they should do something on SmackDown where in the background you can just see him sort of like turn up and just go and just like see him having a bit of a breakdown, like fuck, I've come to the wrong fucking show again, and stuff like that. I just keep seeing him turn up, or like he turns up at the end of the show or something like that, so he's not able to get on. But it'll be like, part of me is now thinking, are they going to do the same thing they did with Brodus Clay, where they've built up this guy that's going to come in as like a bit of a monster, and then he's going to turn up the week he finally turns up and he's there in some sort of
and win the 24/7 championship. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. So we're going to dive straight headfirst into the women's Royal Rumble to begin with. 21 of the 30 women have been named for this year's Rumble, with some huge shocks, as we mentioned before, even if the surprises have now been somewhat dampened. I guess there's still 9 to go. That does leave plenty of room.
And there's always the possibility that even though they've been announced, they don't have to stick to it. They don't have to put them in and stuff like that. So, someone like Aaliyah that's been announced for it, don't be shocked if she doesn't appear in it to sort of bounce her for a bigger name. Sorry.
Well, I'd say we mentioned earlier, didn't we, about the forbidden door seemingly being opened, and the women's Rumble was really the gateway for that. And again, as we've mentioned, likely because you'll actually need to find 30 women to fill the matchup. I think the strange thing about Mickie James being in it this time as well, just quickly going on that, is that she will be heading to the ring, and I really hope that she has the Impact Women's title, with like the Knockouts title with her, because they've advertised her as the Knockouts champion. She's had a title defense since she was announced, so if she's not carrying that title on WWE TV, like, they're doing it wrong for me. It'd be interesting because it'll be, it's not very often that you see another company's title appear on WWE TV, so that will be interesting. I will go through the list in a second, but another odd one just to pick out is that Charlotte Flair is in the match as SmackDown Women's Champion. She has declared that if she was to win, she's going to pick her own WrestleMania opponent. So yeah, a bit of an extra wrinkle, if you like, there. But the full list of entrants confirmed at time of recording is as follows: Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, Nikki ASH, Brie Bella, Nikki Bella, Carmella, all of the others, Queen Zelina, Lita, Michelle McCool, Kelly, Dana Brooke, Natalya, Mickie James, Tamina, Shayna Baszler, Summer Rae, Aaliyah, and
hang on a second. Don't you mean WWE legend Summer Rae?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that. That was funny, that when they announced her, and then there was. Do you see the meme with the picture of Shawn Michaels? As like his face is like. So yeah, so there is plenty to pick from, and as we have done in the past, we will go with your winner. And last year we picked 2 surprise entrants, so you can pick. Should we say we can pick up to 2 if you have to? Does anybody want to take first dibs on this one? Go on, Andy.
Me. I have been terrified that somebody was going to steal my pick, because, possibly not for the first time ever, but my surprise entrant is also my winner.
Okay.
Come on, Paul, say it with me.
Ronda Rousey. I was going to say, is it alliteration?
I tell you, there's one woman who is absolutely winning this one.
Of course. I should have dug out my T-shirt, really. And
yeah, you should. I would like you to put me down for surprise entrant of Bayley, who will also win the women's Royal Rumble.
Okay. Did you want to have a stab at another surprise entrant? Yeah, Ronda Rousey.
See, I was going to go with Ronda Rousey because it was highlighted to me that she has apparently been training since September to make a return, and I was like, that's a while ago.
When did she have the baby? Because she's
September.
Yeah, basically she's been training since she had the baby.
For anybody that has children, you'll know that is endurance training of sorts anyway, so, you know.
Was Alexa Bliss on the list?
She wasn't on the official list, I don't think.
No.
I thought she was.
Not as per WWE.com. I can
The goddess.
go for Alexa as well. Okay?
Yes, please.
Right. Who wants next? Paul's looking it up now to prove me wrong.
No, it's fine. I was just double checking. I'll jump in. I was going to go with Bayley as my winner. However,
okay.
Reports seem to indicate that her knee is still not 100%. So I think if she was to come back, it would be risky.
Why? If she wins, she's the one that doesn't have to go flying over the top rope to land it.
I mean, yeah, but it'll be sod's law that she'll fucking do a Titus and trip as she's running to the ring. and re-pop it or do a other fucking ACL or something like that. But yeah, I was convinced up until I'd seen these reports that it was going to be Bayley, and then I thought, ooh, maybe it's Sasha Banks, but then she's injured as well. So I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, right? Who else is in there that's not injured? So one of my surprise entrants I'd like to have down as Asuka.
Yeah, you got one of mine there.
But I don't think she'll win it. I think I went for her last year to win it, so stick me down for Alexa Bliss to win it.
Okay.
My second surprise, I'll go for Io Shirai.
Okay, I have a feeling that mine and Matt's may come out the same. So I'm going to let you go first, Matt.
I'm picking up Andy's rumour, and I'm going full Ronda Rousey surprise entrance, Ronda Rousey winner.
Okay.
And then I hadn't thought of a second surprise entrant. I'm going to go, is it Kaylee Ray?
Yep.
Ex-NXT UK thing, and I'll see it.
Yeah.
I could see that out.
Yep, cool. I am very much mixing a few of these together, seemingly. I agree with Andy. I think Bayley's going to win it. But for points, I was thinking about the possibility of maybe not picking her as one of the surprises, just in case she's not ready. So for my surprises, I'd already mentioned, I'd already had Asuka, because she's way overdue for coming back, and there's been no mention of her for a long time. So that is most definitely pop worthy. But the other surprise entrant, in a similar vein to Paul, but not entirely, another NXT person, Raquel Gonzalez, because she seems to be doing absolutely naff all on the 2.0. So it's either time for her to move up or disappear, I would have thought. So
yeah, women's division's a bit thin as well at the minute, up on the main roster. So I was surprised if Shirai and Gonzalez both rumble then straight in.
Yeah. I was racking my brains there thinking of people on the NXT, and I was like, oh man. And then when he said Raquel Gonzalez, I was like, yeah, that makes more sense than Kaylee Ray, to be honest.
You can change it if you want.
No, I'll stick with that. I'll stick with it.
Think of the points.
They've got so few women on there that there's a good chance it could be every single person from NXT on there as well as the main roster. So that just leaves us then.
With do you know what a name that hasn't come out from any of us as a surprise that I'm genuinely shocked about. None of us said Paige.
Yeah, that's true. She's been the tease on the socials, hasn't she, for the last week and a bit. Photos or gifs of her pretty much during her wrestling career, which she hasn't done for a long time. Personally, I wouldn't and didn't pick her on the basis that she just likes to be a twat on social media. So I think that she's just doing it on the wind-up, which definitely sort of, character profile and all. She does like to wind people up on social media. So.
It's the same as the Edge principle for me. Until she's like 100% been told that she's not going to, paralyze herself, she shouldn't be anywhere near that ring.
Well, I'm gonna just want you to hold that thought, and I'm gonna go first on the predictions for the men's because I don't want one of my surprises.
Well, if you pull my surprise, I'm gonna be pissed.
Okay.
I bet you we all end up with the same one but like you said, if we go back to the Page thing, every time I watch Edge wrestle, I'm absolutely crapping myself. Every time I watch Daniel Bryanson or Bryan Danielson at the moment, I'm crapping myself. And I know he's working with safe guys in AEW, but you just sit there and you think, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Just please just go and do something safe somewhere so you... Yeah.
Working with safe guys in AEW, but ends up covered in massive amounts of blood the other week, and that was the same as petrified watching that. But yeah, we will move into the men's Rumble match then. So the men's Rumble match, I think, has the potential for more surprises. But one name that we do know that nobody would have guessed a couple of months back is none other than the chief jackass himself, Mr. Johnny Knoxville, and self-proclaimed world champ. Let's stick that in there as well. At the time of recording, the list is as follows. There is 22 of the 30 named. So there's Omos, Randy Orton, Riddle, Otis, Chad Gable, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Kevin Owens, Big E, AJ Styles, the US champion Damian Priest, Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn, Kofi Kingston, Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, Sheamus, Angelo Dawkins, Montez Ford, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, and Austin Theory. So, who out of that field, or possibly a surprise entrant, is going to be heading on to the main event of WrestleMania 38 in Dallas? As I say, I will go first, purely to get my surprise one in. Winner. Heart says Kevin Owens. Head says probably not. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I think they're going to need somebody that's got a bit of experience based on the field to win it. It might be a previous winner, might not be, but I'm going to go for Big E to win the Rumble. Didn't, in my opinion, get really a fair crack at his championship reign. He got a bit shafted by the old Reigns contracting COVID business at day one. So that's is what it is. I'm Big E for the win. So one of my surprise entrants is none other than recently cleared to return to the ring, Mr. Corey Graves.
You filthy tramp!
I wonder who Paul may be picking. And and I don't know. We've got 8 spaces to fill. There's been names in the women's that are listed as Hall of Famers, so surely there's got to be the men's version of it. Surely at some point. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling that Booker T is going to be there, and I don't know why. But I'm as my legend, if you like. I'm gonna put Booker T. I can't explain it. It came to me the other day, so it is what it is. On the basis of Paul wanting to call me a filthy tramp, shall we let him go next?
I mean, it almost seems like it's unfair to not go to Andy. Seems I'm pretty sure he tried to punch you through the screen.
I missed that.
Begin to win it.
Is that because you picking the same, or are you just annoyed if he wins?
I was going to shock the world when I announced that I've absolutely got Big E down to win the Rumble.
I am sorry, but yeah, okay. I'll put you down for that. Do you have surprises?
I do.
Just before Andy gives you surprises, did you say you've got access to last year's picks?
It'd take me a second from where I am, but yes, I can.
Because I'd just like to... I believe I know who I picked last year to win the Rumble. But, yeah, I just want to double check. Unless it was 2 years ago. But anyway, carry on, Andy.
My first surprise entrant is Elias.
Interesting.
And I'm not sure how possible this is, but as there's all this mixing and matching going on, my other surprise entrant is Tommaso Ciampa.
Ooh.
There you go, Matt. That one was just for you.
I love the sheer annoyance that we've each got at each other for coming out with people that we don't want to hear.
Interestingly, so far on the two sets of picks been made, that after all this Forbidden Door talk, nobody's picked anybody from anywhere else in the men's match just yet. Okay, so who wants next then? Matt or Paul?
Oh, Matt, I'll let you go.
You're going to laugh. I have gone for winner and surprise entrant. No, it's not a surprise. Everybody knows he's already in. He's not in.
Hometown boy.
Drew McIntyre.
Okay. Interesting.
That was a possible option I was going to go with, because it was a name that kept coming up.
So winner and surprise entrant, and I sat there and I was like, oh man, do I go? I thought I'm gonna go with it. No, do I? No. Riveting podcasting. I've got a choice of 3. It's, do I go with the Tommaso Ciampa? Do I go with Braun Breaker, the NXT champion? Or do I go... Do they try and make up to Walter Gunther by putting him in the thing? I'm going to go Walter Gunther kind of thing, okay. And the surprise can also be what name he is.
Okay, so on this year's Royal Rumble predictions, that leaves Paul to take the final picks.
So, did you find out who I went for last year?
Yep.
Was it Big E?
No, it was Drew McIntyre.
I must have gone Big E 2 years ago then. So I was just thinking, I was just a couple of years too early. I was going to go for him, but now that I know that 2 people have picked him, I don't want him anymore.
Oh yes,
got to play for the points, haven't you? I think they could literally go for a completely out of left field one to put him back into the title picture that he's been out of for a while. I'm going to go for AJ Styles. And I think we had actually discussed this a couple of weeks ago. It's a sort of it's a surefire way of getting someone who they know is ready for the sort of the picture. He doesn't need to win at Mania to sort of, further his career, but they've always got the option that they know that he's good enough to carry the title and carry the sort of the main event picture if they did want to go that way. For my 2 surprise entrants, I was going to go Corey Graves, but then you ruined it and took it off me. So for my first one, I'd like to go for Braun Strowman, as I believe he is still officially not signed with anyone. He did appear at...
He's been at Ring of Honor, NWA as well.
Was it Ring of Honor Final Battle that he turned up at?
Been doing a lot of indie stuff, hasn't he, with EC3.
Yeah. But apparently he's not physically signed a deal with anyone yet. Who for the second one? Do I go for a call-up, or do I go for another one that's just, not with the company? Let's go for another left field one. I'll go for Chris Masters.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah, he's with... Is he with NWA at the minute?
Well, I've put it in. So if you're
happy
with
I should have gone for Nick Aldis because his wife's there. Oh, balls. Never mind.
I mean, I can change it if you want.
Yeah, bollocks to it. Change it. Give me Nick Aldis.
So take Masters out, Aldis in.
Yes, please.
Okay.
There was rumours doing the rounds that apparently the Undertaker was scheduled to be there, and then everyone was like, "Hang on a second, calm down. His wife's in the Royal Rumble, so of course he's going to be there." What I can do is, if you like, I have got Sky Bet open in front of me, so I can give you the favourites or the early favourites to win the matches.
That's interesting because I've also got a site open which gives you the top 10, 15 people. There's a name on this list that I wish I'd have looked at previously because I was like, oh, that's a really good shout, is that one? Way down the list, admittedly, but I was like, yeah.
So the current favourite to win the Women's Royal Rumble is a 4-5 shot and is Ronda Rousey. Second favourite at 7-2 is Bianca Belair. Alexa Bliss is 11-2. Liv Morgan 7-1. Bayley 8-1. Charlotte Lita 10-1. Rhea Ripley 10-1. Sasha Banks 10-1. So on and so forth.
Liv Morgan would have been, I think, a good shout. I don't know if she gained a bit of steam sort of back end of the year into coming up towards day one. But I think they've kind of let it slide too much. I don't know if she's got enough momentum to sort of see her through to WrestleMania, but maybe one for next year, I think, is Liv Morgan.
Most eliminations. Current favourite at
Gonzalez.
4-1, Raquel Gonzalez. Iron Woman, current favourite at 7-2, Bianca Belair. Shortest stay. Now hang on, I'll have to search for this a little bit. 4-1 favourite. It's that WWE legend again. It's Summer Rae. So those are just some of the women's Royal Rumble odds. Men's Royal Rumble current favourite 5-2. Mr. Brock Lesnar. Second favourite at 4-1, Big E. Ooh, third favourite 7-1, AJ Styles. Take that.
Yeah, like you didn't look at this before.
I swear to God. You can get 10s on Lashley, McIntyre, Reigns and Rollins. Owens is 12-1. Omos 12-1. Your favourite, the Dwayne, 12-1.
Oh, of course he had to be in there, didn't he?
Most eliminations, you'll be shocked to hear the 8 to 11 favourite is Omos. Iron Man. 4 to 1. Oh no. 5 to 4 favourite is currently AJ Styles. You can also get 4 to 1 on Big E to be the Iron Man, or 6 to 1 on Damian Priest. I quite like that one. Shortest stay. You can get 10 to 3 on Sami Zayn, which I don't think is a terrible bet.
Yeah.
Or 5 to 4 on Johnny Knoxville.
He's taking himself out by doing some eye spot of some description.
He's not going to be there on his own, is he? Let's be honest.
No, I would suggest he's probably not going to be entrant number 1 or 2. Put it that way.
I'd be very surprised. Well, it's such a shame that, like, you know, they don't have 70 contestants and he just comes in as number 69 or something like that. But, you know.
But he should be 13. If he's going to be any, he should be 13.
That would make the most sense. In fact, if you could do prop betting on the number of entrant, I think that you'd get decent money on him coming out as number 13. What was the one that you'd seen, Andy?
Further down the list I've got here is Finn Balor. Which I was like, when I saw it on the list, I was like, damn it, that's a good shout, is that?
He'd be a good shout for longest in the Rumble, I'd say.
Yeah. He sort of just disappeared again, hasn't he, for the time being?
Yeah.
Not high on Vince's agenda, it seems. But yeah, so that is it. That is all of the Rumble. Predicted, bookied, the whole lot. Yep. So, and again, thank you very much to everyone. I'm assuming we have no other business this evening. No.
Nothing from me.
Okay. Lovely. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, for liking and subscribing and all that good stuff. Very much appreciated, and enjoy the Rumble. Don't forget, it's Saturday, not Sunday. And we shall see you in probably a few weeks for Elimination Chamber. We might have to start covering that, seeing as it's going to be a proper premium live event now, maybe. I'm not sure. So yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks. Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.
So there you go. What do you think to that? Have you got your predictions sorted? If you have, you can jump to our website and drop us your predictions through either our social media links or even our email button. Whilst I've got you, just the last thing is, if you are listening or watching, please do consider subscribing, liking, sharing and commenting. It lets us know how much you love us, even if it's just a little bit. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.